I just found out who Rahul Rai is, and I wish I never knew who this guy was.
Hey, babe. Yeah, babe, what's up? Do you find it attractive when I do this? Yeah, baby, what's up? Happy Mother's Day from me and Randall. Oh my god, thank you so much. Thank you for being the best mommy in the world. Can me and Randall go play outside now? Of course, knock yourself out. Not literally, just have fun. Hey, babe, you almost ready? Because we got... Yes. Yeah, babe, just 2 seconds, babe. I'm just combing my hair. Yeah, Zane, what's up? I wet the bed. Did you have a nightmare? Not exactly. Then what? I had a dream about Miss Donna. Miss Donna, your art teacher? Oh my god.
Baby.
You're what?
A mommy baby.
The real Rahul Rai is getting cancelled because of his old skit videos.
If you would have ever asked me who I would want off the face of the earth, it would be this guy, Rahul Rai.
This is probably the worst content creator I've ever seen in my life because I have never cringed so viscerally out of watching anyone's videos in my life, bro.
Thank God that finally people are opening their eyes to the cursed Instagram Reels content creator that I have been seeing for years.
There are some internet personalities you discover and immediately think, oh, I've seen this person before. And then there are some people who suddenly manage to disappear from your memory until the internet suddenly drags them back out of the archives. And that's exactly what happened with Rahul Rai. Because if you were on TikTok around 2020 or 2021, there's a good chance you've seen him. Maybe you remember the face. Maybe you remember the videos.
Oh my god, he could literally punch me in the face and I'd be like, I'll call you tomorrow.
Maybe you remember Babe.
Hey, babe. Yeah, babe. I bet you, that you, tell me, can't seduce me in 5 words or less.
Or maybe you were one of the lucky ones who somehow escaped the creepy, disturbing Rahul Rai cinematic universe altogether. If you did, congratulations, you literally won. But Rahul Rai is suddenly back on people's For You pages. And this time around, people aren't necessarily watching because they missed him. They are watching because they are looking back at some of his old content and asking, wait, why were we okay with this? And that question is what sent me down this rabbit hole. Because before we talk about the controversy, we need to understand who Rahul Rai actually is and how he became so popular in the first place. But before we actually dig in, viewer discretion is strongly advised. My name is Frida and welcome back to my channel. So first of all, I want to thank you guys for 200 followers. I can't believe that 200 of you people actually clicked on the subscribe button. I'm genuinely so grateful for that. But with that being said, let's talk about it. Who was Rahul Rai before Babe? And sorry if I'm actually mispronouncing his name. Rahul Rai didn't start out as a TikTok personality. He wanted to be an actor. Yes, and according to interviews about his career, Rahul grew up in New York and developed an interest in Bollywood dance and performing from a very young age. He eventually became involved in dance and acting, and his first film role came through an audition for When Harry Tries to Marry. That experience pushed him further towards acting, and eventually, like a lot of aspiring actors, Rahul moved to Los Angeles to pursue the industry. But here's the thing about Hollywood. You can be talented, you can audition, you can work and still spend an unbelievable amount of time waiting for somebody else to give you an opportunity. And that's where social media changed everything for Rahul. Because instead of waiting for a casting director to decide whether he was interesting enough, Rahul could put himself directly in front of an audience, and that's exactly what he did. So he started using TikTok in 2019. Initially, he was doing the kind of content a lot of people were doing at the time. Dancing, lip syncing, trending sounds, but he eventually realized something. If he wanted to stand out, he needed something people could recognize. And that's when he started creating original characters and skits. Instead of simply participating in trends, he could create his own little world, and then the timing couldn't have been better because in 2020, the entire world was shut down. People were stuck in their homes. Everybody was on their phone. TikTok literally exploded, and Rahul apparently took that opportunity very seriously because he has discussed producing around 24 videos a day during lockdown. 24. I struggled to answer 2 text messages in a row. This man was apparently producing a full season of television before breakfast. Wow, that's crazy. But that insane consistency actually worked. His following grew rapidly, and apparently that work ethic paid off. By February 2021, a podcast episode was already describing his journey as going from 0 to 3.2 million followers across TikTok and Instagram in roughly a year. And suddenly, the aspiring actor who had been trying to get noticed in Hollywood had built something he couldn't necessarily get from a traditional acting career: his own audience. And this is where our whole story gets interesting. He realized he didn't need someone to give him a platform. He could build one himself. He could act, so he acted. He could play characters, so he created them. He could write scenarios, so he did. And eventually, one character became synonymous with his name: Bay. So, who is Bay? Now, if you've never seen Rahul Rai's Bay character before, let me paint the picture. It's hard to watch. Rahul would transform himself into this exaggerated female character. Different mannerisms, different voice, different personality, and usually a towel on his head. That's it. That's the costume. Hollywood spent millions of dollars making superhero movies. Rahul Rai said, just give me a towel.
Hey. Yeah? What's up? Call me a good boy. Hey babe, do we have ice? Yeah. It's in the freezer. Oh, cool. Thanks. What, are you making a drink? Because I want one.
Nope.
Are you making a smoothie?
Here we go. Nope.
So then what do you need the ice for? What do you need the ice for? What? Is this like a social media trend I don't know about? Ready? For what? This. Oh my god. So refreshing. Now imagine that cooling sensation on other parts of you.
And somehow it worked. They became recognizable. People knew immediately who they were watching, and more importantly, people started coming back for the character. Rahul began creating relationship skits around Bay. This basic premise was simple: Rahul and his fictional girlfriend. Arguments, misunderstandings, jealousy, dating, money, domestic situations, all exaggerated comedy. And people ate it up. The character became part of his identity, and this is where Rahul's audience really began to grow. His platform grew to 5.6 million followers on TikTok and 2 million followers on Instagram. From this, you could tell that people love, or should I say, loved him.
Hey babe, have you seen the what are you doing? Oh, I was just eating. What's up? What are you eating? I was just having some Cheetos, so. Just when I thought I had it under control. Yeah.
Actually, people enjoyed this video. One person commented, "I claim this energy." Another person, "This couple, this chemistry, this humor and interaction is just simply the best." Another person commented, "Please do more of this, daddy." Another person commented, "I think I look forward to these videos more than I look forward to waking up in the morning." Yep. People were enjoying this content. People literally adored him. And then the family got bigger. You see, Rahul didn't stop with Bay. Eventually, the fictional universe expanded and another character entered the picture, Zayn. Yep, the fictional child. So now we have Rahul, Bay, and Zayn. At this point, Rahul wasn't making random TikToks anymore. He had basically created a tiny sitcom starring himself. One actor, multiple characters, recurring storylines, and millions of views.
It's your favorite 7-year-old with sass, Zayn here, and I wanted to personally welcome you to the mind palace of my father. Take a look around, enjoy the content, and don't worry, there's a lot more content coming. How's that, Dad? That was really great, buddy. That was a great welcome message. Thank you so much for doing that. Baby, don't forget to remind them of the community guidelines. Oh, yeah, that's a really great point, Mom. Let's keep this a safe and fun space for everybody to enjoy. So, no inappropriate comments, and just, don't be creepy. Hey, I'm Rahul. I'm Zayn's father. Oh my god, all this time we thought you were a veterinarian. Why would you think I'm a veterinarian? Well, Zayn had mentioned that you beat up cats for a living, and we thought that doesn't sound right. Zayn, why would you tell him that I beat up cats? Well, I've heard you tell Mommy on multiple occasions that you beat the pussy up for a living. Well, that explains Zayn's behavior recently. Recently, Zayn spit on his hand and slapped little Susie in her face. Zayn! I thought it'd be better than spitting in her mouth and calling her a good girl.
Yeah. And again, people somehow loved this. One person commented, I'm loving this series. Another person said, these Zen videos are my favorite. Another person commented, there's something in you I just love. Love your videos. Yeah, people loved it. But here's where everything changes. Because eventually, the internet moved on. And Rahul's old content, it didn't. The videos stayed online, and years later, a completely different audience started discovering them. And suddenly, people weren't necessarily laughing. They were questioning. Some viewers began looking at Bay's content and saying the jokes relied too heavily on stereotypes around women. Others started focusing on the Zen videos and questioning the decision to introduce sexual humor into scenarios involving a child character. And then the conversation became much bigger because once people start digging through an old creator's content, they don't just watch one video. They start looking at everything. And that's when Rahul went from, remember this TikTok guy, to, wait, has anybody actually looked at this man's old content? And that is where our story really gets creepy.
You know what sound a cat makes? Yes, Zayn? A cat goes... Are you sure about that, Zayn? Do you want to try again? Well, that's what cats sound like in my house. That's how a cat sounds in your house?
Yeah, my dad tells my mom that he's gonna make her kitty purr, and then this sound follows soon after.
Wait a minute. So, he creates this child character. He has the child talking about the sound a cat makes. And then the punchline is basically the dad saying he's going to make the mom's kitty purr. Sir, this is supposed to be a child character. And that's what makes this so uncomfortable to me. Because this isn't just two random adults making a sexual joke. You created the child character. You created the dad. You wrote the dialogue. And you decided that this was a joke? Like, what was the thought process here? Maybe you were like, how do I make this cat joke funny? I know. Let me make it sexual and have the child deliver the setup. And then you expect people to watch this and go, we love cats. No, because now I'm just sitting here wondering who exactly is the target audience for this. And apparently I'm not the only one, because look at these comments from people who actually dug his videos. Someone literally said, genuinely, who is the target audience? And I'm asking the same question. Another person said, this is a really weird thing to make a skit about. And another person called it concerning. And I agree with all of them, because the problem isn't that the joke is just cringe. It's the fact that he chose to make the joke through a child character that he is portraying. And honestly, I understand why people are reacting that way, because there's a difference between something being cringe and something making you genuinely uncomfortable. This isn't even clever or edgy. It's taking an innocent situation involving a child character, inserting an intimate implication into it, and expecting that to somehow be the punchline. Look, he wrote this, he recorded it, he edited it, and he decided this was funny enough to post. Maybe the problem isn't that people don't understand the joke. Maybe the joke is just weird. You know, a video can sit untouched for 6 years, even 10 years. The audio doesn't change, the words don't change, but the person watching it in 2026 might have a completely different reaction from somebody watching it in 2021. And that's exactly what's happening with Rahul's content. The current backlash has been fueled by old videos being re-uploaded and recirculated. And one example that keeps coming up is a skit involving container shopping. The criticism is that the joke reduces women's interest in relationships to stereotypical or materialistic desires. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend a container joke is the downfall of Western civilization. But the reason people are discussing it isn't because containers are controversial. No, it's because they are looking at a pattern of jokes and asking what Rahul's comedy is actually saying about women. Let's look at this video, for instance.
Babe, you want to go to the container store? Now you're just overdoing it. What? I think we just need some more containers. Oh, and then we can get some free delivery of wine from Aldi. Stop. Who are you, mister? Who are you? This is too good to be true, mister. Yeah, and then I was thinking when we come back, we could binge watch some Grey's Anatomy. There's no way that a man wants to do all of those things. There's just no way that you voluntarily want to do that.
Yeah, that's crazy. This person said, I'm so glad we all die one day. And honestly, girl, I understand you. I literally do. And before we go any further, I think we need to make one thing clear, because the internet loves calling every man it discovers a creep. Bad jokes, creep. Awkward video, creep. Annoying personality, creep. Girl, sometimes a man is just embarrassing. With Rahul, I think the conversation goes beyond simply being cringe, because there's a difference between being painfully unfunny and repeatedly making content that feels sexist, degrading, or just plain uncomfortable. You can find someone's content creepy. You can criticize the way he portrays women. You can question the kind of humor he chooses to build his platform around. And honestly, that's why I think Rahul deserves the criticism. Because at some point, you have to stop asking, is this just cringe? And start asking, why is this his idea of comedy in the first place? And this brings me back to the part that has caused the strongest reaction, Zayn. Again, Zayn is a fictional character, but people are revisiting skits where the fictional child is involved in jokes about sexual subjects. The current reporting specifically highlights a video in which Rahul's character tells Zayn not to call him daddy, followed by sexual humor.
Hey, Zayn. Yes, daddy? Don't call me that. Listen, did you... did you hit little Susie in the face with a toy? It was a rubber chicken. Why did you do that, Zayn? Well, I overheard you and Mommy talking once. Oh, no. And I remember Mommy saying how much she enjoyed when you slapped her in the face with your... Okay. Roger that. Listen, Zayn, we are not gonna do stuff like that anymore, okay, buddy? Okay.
Genuinely, why was this written? What was the intended joke? Why involve the child character? Daddy is a normal thing children call their dads, why is he making it sexual? I know Rahul is playing both characters here, but this is actually disturbing. And I don't mean disturbing because the skit is realistic. I mean disturbing because of what he chose to make the joke about. Because the whole punchline is basically a child has been exposed to something intimate, doesn't understand it, repeats it innocently, and now the father is panicking. And the more I think about it, the worse it gets. Because when you are making a skit where you are deliberately portraying a child saying intimate things, there has to be a point where you ask yourself, is this actually funny or is this just shock value? But you know the more disturbing part? Some people back then actually liked this skit. One person commented, "I'm loving this series." Girl, are you being for real? Yeah, people say this. Please, next. Let's click next. And you know what? The internet found more videos. Once people started revisiting Rahul's old content, the conversation expanded. And this is where I think things get messy. Social media users began making much more serious accusations. Some people claimed Rahul had sexualized child characters. And Rahul's old videos are suddenly valuable again, not necessarily because they're good, but because people have something to say about them. And on the internet, attention is currency. So maybe the question isn't why did Rahul Rai suddenly become controversial? Maybe it's why did the internet suddenly decide to look at Rahul Rai's content differently? Oh, why did the internet think some of Rahul's videos were okay? Because comedy doesn't exist in a vacuum. If every joke about women is women want money, women are dramatic, women are difficult, eventually the audience can start asking, okay, does this joke actually have a punchline, or is the stereotype the punchline? The moment you introduce a child into comedy universe, the audience expects change, because suddenly there are certain lines that feel much more uncomfortable. But it's just comedy. This is probably going to be the first defense you see. And look, yes, it's comedy. We know. But it's comedy doesn't automatically make every creative choice immune from criticism. Comedy can be provocative. Comedy can be offensive. Comedy can make people uncomfortable. That's literally part of what comedy has always done. But the audience is allowed to respond. Look, I understand what you're trying to do. I just don't think it works.
All right. And my dating confession is that a second. I have a tendency to date people that I have no future with. What does that say about me? I don't know. I've had conversations with my brother about it. He says that's probably why you like older women, because there's no future. And I say, fuck you. There one day will be. And when I find that person, whether she is age appropriate or not, you will never see me again.
Now, this is also another part that we have to talk about. His response. And this is where I really wanted to hear Rahul's side. Because if millions of people are suddenly discussing your old videos, you'd expect some kind of response. Maybe an explanation, maybe an apology, maybe, guys, you're taking this out of context. Maybe I don't make this type of content anymore. Maybe an explanation of some sort. Just anything for him to say. But at the time of this video, I haven't found a reliable public statement from Rahul that directly addresses the specific allegations currently circulating. And that's important to phrase carefully. I'm not saying Rahul has refused to respond. I am saying I haven't found a verified public response addressing these specific allegations. And this is where the story gets weird, because Rahul is still here. He is still posting. He is still getting views. He is still maintaining a massive audience, acting like nothing is happening. But the only thing he has done is limit comments access on TikTok. Basically, you can no longer comment on the videos on his account, and his recent content doesn't even have comments on them because he has limited access. And sometimes I feel like old content is very dangerous. And I think this is the bigger lesson. When Rahul made some of these videos, TikTok culture was completely different. Short form creators were experimenting with characters. Creators were constantly trying to make something shocking enough to stop the scroll. And the line between this is funny and this is too much was constantly moving. But now we are watching those videos years later, and people aren't necessarily interested in giving the same benefit of the doubt. They're simply asking, would this be posted today? That's a difficult question, because if the answer is no, then we have to ask why. Did society change? Did comedy change? Did Rahul change? Or did people simply become more comfortable saying, actually, I don't like this. Actually, this is not okay. And here is the ironic part. Rahul's greatest strength as a creator was the ability to create characters people instantly recognized. But those same characters are the reason people remember him. Rahul's account hasn't completely abandoned the formula that made him famous. His recent content still includes relationship style material and recurring concepts associated with his older brand. So you can make an argument that Rahul didn't completely reinvent himself. He is still Rahul. He is still doing short form comedy. He is still using recurring characters and relationship scenarios. But does that mean we should cancel him? Personally, I don't even think that's the most useful question, because cancelled has become so meaningless. Someone gets criticized online, cancelled. They lose 2,000 followers, cancelled. They gain 20,000 followers the next day, still cancelled. At this point, cancelled basically means people are talking about you and I don't like the conversation. Or is this simply another viral cycle that will disappear in probably 3 weeks? So what happens next? And honestly, that's the part we don't know. Maybe the current backlash dies like it usually does. Maybe Rahul addresses it. Maybe more old content resurfaces. Maybe someone produces genuinely verifiable evidence that changes the conversation. And maybe that's why I don't want to end this video by telling you Rahul Rai is guilty, because that's not my job. And I don't think that's what makes this story interesting anyway. But I think the question that we should think about is, what happens when millions of people who once helped build your career suddenly decide to examine the foundation? He posted relentlessly, he built millions of followers, and he turned TikTok into a career. But that also means he created an enormous digital archive of himself, and now the archive is talking back, and it seems very dark. Now, after going through all of this, I have to be honest, I have a problem with some of Rahul Rai's content. And I'm not saying that because I think every controversial joke should be cancelled, or because I believe every allegation floating around online is automatically true. I'm talking specifically about the content I've actually seen, because kids have TikTok now. Actual kids. And imagine if a kid came across one of these videos. Just imagine for a second. And maybe I'm more sensitive to this because I genuinely have a soft spot for kids. I care about what they are exposed to online, and kids nowadays understand a lot more than adults give them credit for. So a child watching one of Rahul's videos might actually understand the sexual implication behind the joke. And that's what bothers me a lot. Adult humor being packaged as innocent comedy can normalize things children shouldn't have been exposed to in the first place. There are certain jokes where I'm genuinely sitting there thinking, why did you choose to make this the punchline? Especially when sexual humor is introduced into a storyline involving a character portrayed as a child. At some point, it's just comedy stops being enough of an explanation to me. Because comedy is a choice. You choose the character, you choose the scenario, you choose the dialogue, you choose the punchline, and then you choose to put it online for millions of people to watch. So yes, people are allowed to criticize that choice. And personally, I don't find it funny. I find it uncomfortable and questionable. And I don't think we should have to pretend something is harmless simply because it's wrapped in a joke. Criticizing Rahul doesn't require us to exaggerate anything. The content speaks for itself. And that's ultimately where I stand. Maybe you have watched these videos and thought they were hilarious. And maybe you watched them and thought they were harmless. maybe you are like me who watched them and thought, yeah, there's something about this that I'm really not comfortable with. And honestly, that's okay, because we don't have to agree. Is this something we should really be normalizing as entertainment? And for me, the answer is no. Thank you very much for watching. That's what I had for you today, and I'm going to see you in the comment section. Please let me know, what do you think about this scenario? Do you think this is harmless, or do you think this is something really concerning? I would really love to hear your views. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. For now, bye.